Hello and welcome to another exclusive interview on ET Edge Insights. Today we have with us Ms. Radhika Balakrishnan. She is the founder and chief coach CXO Incubator. With over 20 years of corporate experience, Radhika has worked in multinational banks and other corporate institutions. As a CXO coach, she gives leadership insights, strategic vision to leaders for them to unravel the mysteries of leadership and take their legacy and leadership forward. Right then, we have Radhika Balakrishnan with us. Radhika, thank you for doing this with ET Insights. It's a pleasure to host you.
Thank you so much.
Radhika, let me begin by asking you, more often than not, when we talk about coaching, coaching is a profession that usually comes from personal calling. So, what was the spark that pushed you towards coaching and more so CXO coaching?
Thank you so much. So then in my life, of course, you're quite bang on in saying that it has been a personal calling for me. Right, I qualified as a chartered accountant. I worked in the banking industry for more than 16, 17 years. And there was a time, and I've been a high performer through and through my career, be it in school, college, etc. So it so happened that at a stage, I came in and I felt that, what next? What is it that takes I always observe that there are few people who reach the topmost position and are able to take the leadership roles, and many of the other smart, intelligent people who also go through the similar rigor, they get probably stuck at a mid-senior level and then eventually retire off the corporate pyramid. So I was always very curious, what does it take for some to achieve and some of them to settle? And that was the question which really prodded me to dig deep into understanding human personality, human behaviors, human potential as a whole. And it was so strong for me that I realized that if I want to be there, what is it that I need to do more than just my deliverables and my skill building and stuff like that. And that prodded me to actually take a step back to discover myself. And so back in 2018, I left my cushy job with Standard Chartered Bank, and I said that I need to find the answer to this question. What makes some people raise up to the topmost, and what are the secrets behind exploring human potential? And that led me to my own self-discovery journey. Eventually, it so happened that I reached a stage where I asked myself one question. Now that I know what is the secret behind this, should I use it and make myself a CEO of a company, which probably I would have become, or should I help 100 other CEOs, 100 other people become CEOs in the process? So the second one felt more powerful, more connected and more exciting for me. I said, khud to kar hi denge, we will anyway make it happen. How would it be if I help 100 other people to raise up the ladder and make them the CXOs? And that was so powerful for me that I realized that let me then take the plunge and go deep into starting coaching, because I realized that it's not that you are not smart, it's not that you don't know, but every Sachin Tendulkar gets discovered by one Ramakant Achrekar.
Very well said. The power of empowerment. So that is what you've discovered, and you actually doing it for the. Now, interestingly, you have named your organization CXO Incubator. So, what's the story behind it?
Good one. So we thought of many words like accelerator, launchpad, and different names. But what really stuck with me was it's always the 9 months of incubation that happens for the child to grow and become the true human being. And that 9 months incubation process is the most dynamic space for a human being to live in a human being's life. You are starting with a one cell organism to becoming a baby in 9 months. And that's where the connection for the word incubator became very, very close to me. That in our course, in a 9-week program, we really help them transform from where they are starting to where they reach through and through, using just helping them understand themselves, helping them build their behavioral aspects, understanding their emotional power.
Right.
I would say emotions, often people say emotion, the person is emotional or something. But I would say emotions are the powerhouse of human beings. And when you tap into the powerful emotions people carry, every revolution, every transformation has happened in the world because of a strong emotional connect.
Right.
So when you are able to help the human potential understand themselves,
Right.
so in the 9 weeks first foundation course that we do as part of the CXO Incubator,
Right.
people go through a complete transformation, that when they look back at themselves where they started, they will be surprised, is this who I was for 40 years of my life or 45 years of my life? My God, this is what I want to really do, because this time they also identify what their purpose is.
Very true. Very interesting yet very powerful thought. In your LinkedIn profile, it's written that you are empowering, or you are a purpose-driven leader, purpose-driven leadership. Now, how do you bring purpose into an actionable point when you are imparting these leadership strategies to the CXOs?
Very good question, actually. You know, where I'll actually go a little back and
Right.
give you some backstories on why did I even think of this, because often people identify leadership, right?
Right.
But not really with purpose. So I was always curious, you know, you take my father-in-law was working with Tata Power long back, and he was the head of HR. And even after his retirement, I could see the sense of connection he would have with the organization.
Right.
He would always talk to us about the pride with which he would talk about his organization, the work he had done, the connection with the vision of the management, how he contributed to that, was very, very empowering for me. And I used to always think, why is it that when I go to work, I feel that I should finish my work and come back home?
Right.
Why am I not able to get that kind of a vision? That was one point. Second, I was thinking of the Army, Navy, Air Force. What makes people, ordinary people, go to an extent where they are able to sacrifice the most precious thing that they have in life, which is life itself,
Right.
for the sake of one vision? They don't know who they are protecting. They don't know who is going to get rewarded.
But they have one goal.
Yeah,
Yes.
they don't even know whether they will come back home. But they are getting so powerfully connected with a purpose.
Right.
And that's when I realized the power of purpose. And I said, if we are able to build that purpose within, and if each one identifies purpose, how powerful the human race would be. And especially leadership is the most powerful position
True.
to hold, which drives the organization, which is the think tank, which is the
Absolutely.
powerhouse to bring about action.
Right.
So when those people are driven by purpose rather than just a title or a position, you create legendary organizations.
Right. True.
For example, a Godrej or a Tata Group, they cannot survive if they did not have that kind of a strong purpose.
And the legacy also continues. So very true. It's a very powerful point you have put forward. Now, purpose-driven. Now, in this journey, you've been training several CXOs. Your own leadership trait in this phase, how has it evolved during this entire training ecosystem?
Interesting question.
Because I remember you just made a point that you actually came out of your comfort zone from Standard Chartered, I believe, and you took up this role, although this was challenging, but you again chose to do something that was, as you said, purpose. There was a purpose. That's why you took up this challenge, and you're a path, you're showing direction. So in that phase, obviously, as a CEO of a company, you had your own leadership, but teaching it or imparting that knowledge to people obviously gave you some sense of direction. So how has that changed your leadership style, or it has evolved into something different?
The good part about all of us, I would say, is human mind is a continuous, constant, evolving consciousness.
Right.
So yes, I have also changed. The biggest transition which happens during this process is about transitioning from a me journey to a we journey.
Well
So
said.
earlier probably I used to go to work because I wanted a position, I wanted to create impact, I wanted to probably have a fancy car or a house or whatever the
Right.
material things which are my busy status. I should not deny that. Yes, we all aspire for these
True.
things and we want it, but that's a very limited resource. What happens once you achieve it? What happens next? How long can you keep continuing to aspire for material well-being, for satisfying yourself, right? So it is useful up to a point, but then the next phase of life always is about how do you translate these strengths of yours, overcome your blind spots, and search in a space where you can create, as you said a little while before, create legacy.
Right.
Create an impact, create a story which is going to be a blockbuster story for you to reflect back maybe
Absolutely.
20,
That's
30
the critical
years
point,
later.
yes.
So that was, so in coming back to your question, how have I changed? So this is one very big factor. But what happens when you shift your mindset? When you shift your mindset, many things which were probably roadblocks for you. For example, now most of my Saturdays are blocked because I have my sessions. I would have never done this had it not been my purpose which is pushing me.
Absolutely.
And also the fact that my family is now accepting. It's okay, our entire holidays, everything will be planned around that 4-5 hours which we have to block for Saturday. Oh, mom is not available.
Right.
Oh, she's not there. Oh, so let's do the party in the evening. Let's not meet in the morning.
Correct.
So that also happens. Ecosystem starts creating the support.
Yes.
And the last thing is, from where I would probably see from my perspective, now as a coach, my empathy and my ability to understand from others' frame of reference has gone up substantially. So which helps which is what I have to think from my client's point of view, and help them navigate their path. So yes, leadership, and as a coach, sometimes I have to be strict, very strict. I have to be kind, I have to be empathetic, I have to be very mindful, and ensure that the person who is with me walks the path that is for which
that
we
you
have
have charted.
that we have that for which
Yes.
we are together.
Yes, it's challenging.
So another one small, so we don't just focus only on professional growth.
Right.
The focus is on a 360-degree development of the person, because you may carry a physical body to office, but you carry the same mindset everywhere you go. So that's why my coaching is focused on building the mindset, also helping them navigate these blind spots, overcome those little challenges we have, build a strong personal and professional life. Because every leader who reaches the top and who you look up to are people who have both. It's not this or that. It's this and that which creates the right energies for delivery and creating impact.
You just made a very interesting point of drawing many hats. Sometimes you have to be strict, kind, empathetic. So, is there any used case or example you can think of where you tried a very unconventional method with someone, offbeat, but it actually worked and helped you as well as obviously your client to see that direction?
So every person who comes to me is unconventional.
Right.
So imagine, who are the people who come to me?
Right.
Typically they are all very high accomplished people.
Absolutely.
So you can imagine the kind of egos they already have. It's fair enough to have it. I'm not telling it in any negative way. It's fair enough to have it because you have conditioned yourself to perform, have opinions, strong opinions in a certain fashion, which has helped. But then what happens next is when they come to me, two things happen. Good part is when people on their own come to me, they know that there are some challenges which they have to overcome. So in that sense, my job becomes slightly easy.
Yeah.
But then if I have to communicate that, what you're doing is not going to work for you, there is another method to do it. And that's the constant conversation that as a coach, I need to keep having, to keep showing them. It's never about me giving an advice, because that's not going to work. And that's something I learned very early on in my coaching journey.
Right.
That if I tell you do this, nobody is going to do it.
Yes.
But if I am able to show you why you should make a choice of a certain fashion, or you yourself discover that this is the choice which should be done, you become more accountable and more connected with taking the right action.
Right.
So used case situation, there are so many, but the most important thing for me is by default
getting
I want
into
to,
that mindset of that
by
person.
default I want
Right.
to give advice, then I have to stop myself. Don't give advice, Radhika.
Yes.
Show them, and sometimes they take time. The biggest challenge for me as a coach is I can see the result. The client cannot see the result.
Absolutely. That is where you
And
are.
then I know if they take this action, this is the result they will get, and it is right at the corner.
Right.
But then they may not take the right action because there is always constant doubt. There's constantly logic which comes in. Why should I do this? Why should I? And those are the elements where I also enjoy in that sense, because on one hand I know that this helps them, and on the other hand I have to still go through the process too and navigate them. Like, I don't know, have you ever been for a trek?
Yes.
It's like a trek guides. My job is like a trek guide's job. He knows the path through and through from the start to the base, and we keep still asking, why don't we go take this shortcut? Why don't we go this path? And he has to still navigate us through the path which is the right path.
Post-pandemic, we've seen this word resilience coming into fore because of what happened mostly across the globe. In a corporate world, when we talk about resilience, which is one of the traits we obviously see in leaders, if you have to describe a future CXO, how do you see resilience fitting into your person's life?
It's strange that people have only used the word resilience now. The world has gone through enough and more churns, ups and downs. If we take a span of even 50 years, we have seen all the kinds of ups and downs. Of course, pandemic was too sudden. There was no anticipation for it.
Right.
But yes, resilience, it's a trait for every leader to, let me rephrase it this way. The entire organization looks up to the leader or the leadership team. Now, what is resilience? If the leadership team is going to take decision based out of fear, just imagine how would so we have seen the leadership which took decisions out of fear, actually they could not survive the pandemic.
Crumbles, right.
They crumbled. But every leadership which took that space as with a purpose and said that okay, now we are here, let's do the most of what we have. And some organizations could quickly convert themselves into the online hybrid format or the work from home format. And those organizations where leadership and management were able to take charge of the situation, focusing on what is under the control and going with the flow, we saw that they thrived.
Right.
In fact, they made more profits during pandemic.
True.
So my point is simple, that resilience is something not as leaders one must have. And that comes, how do you build this resilience, right? It's not something you are born with or something.
Absolutely.
It's something you can develop. And for developing it, it depends upon, as a person, are you a fear-driven person or are you a purpose-driven person? Now in your corporate space, how have you taken decision? It's very important. That's where as a coach, I keep helping them to understand how are you taking decisions? How are you building strategies? What is the thought process that is going behind it? Is it out of fear you are taking a decision? If it is out of fear, it will be short-lived.
Right.
If it is out of purpose, we can see a long-term plan for it. Once you build it up for the leadership team, the next comes your next level core team. Now for the core team also, it's very important that the message of the leadership gets translated in the similar manner. And that's where when we do corporate coaching, we insist that we don't just focus on the mid-level people. We
Correct.
do a founder level or the senior top level coaching. We do the core team coaching, and then we finally also do the executive level coaching.
Right.
So that as an organization in the pyramid, everyone kind of starts aligning themselves to a larger purpose than just meet and
True.
in some way start shifting from a me to we journey. Because honestly, my life has changed dramatically in the last 3 to 5 years when I have moved from this from my previous journey to what I'm doing today, impacting people. I've coached more than 300 professionals in my journey. Probably I've never have met also so many people earlier on such a one-on-one basis. So I feel there is a huge potential which is untapped in the human existence, which needs to be unlocked. And once you unlock it, it's superpower.
Fabulous. Radhika Balakrishnan, what is the legacy you want to leave behind as a CXO coach?
So on my LinkedIn, you will notice that I have written one line saying on a mission to reach out to 1 million people,
1 million people
and help them find their purpose. Every time one of my coaches comes back to me or writes a message saying that they have been able to overcome some challenge, they have got their promotions, they've got a speaker assignment, they've got it. It just fills me with so much joy. It fills me with a lot because I exactly know where their starting point was. From where they started to what they are creating today is an outstanding one. It's my dream that if...
So you feel that sense of fulfillment.
It definitely gives me a lot of fulfillment to see. So on a simple day when I feel a little low or wanting to, what do I do? Or any of such thoughts, it is serendipity that one message from somewhere will drop in to say that what you're doing is amazing and continue doing that. So as far as legacy is concerned, I think the more and more people I'm able to reach out, and the more and more people are able to realize their full potential, I mean, I would feel that's my job is done. And truly for me, this is a very, very sacred place. It's not just a job. I truly feel that it's something I have been chosen to do by not just some organization but by the universe. And that's why I would say this is my calling, and till my last I want to continue to empowering people.
Fantastic. One last question. If you want to describe leadership in 3 words, what are those 3 words going to be and why?
So 3 words you want to describe a leader is impactful, purposeful, with a contributory mindset. These are the 3 aspects that I would like to describe. And you asked me why. So I just like to give a small example here. So there is rain. We all experience rain. So when we experience rain, if I go and stand out with a spoon outside, what is the water I will collect? Spoonful. If I go out with a mug, I would get a mug full of water. If I go out with a bucket, I'll get a bucket, maybe 20 liters bucket, I'll get water. Now, that is the stage at which most of us think. But there is just 1 or 2 people who actually think about why not create a pond? Why not create a lake? So if we are able to lift our thought process to that level
Where the community is
Where-
actually benefiting.
where, because of what you're thinking, see, we feel success is in small pockets. I would say success is in abundance. Rainwater comes in abundance. So when I am not able to capture it, that's the problem which happens.
Right.
So if I am able to create that lake or a pond, and for generations we can see we have been benefited. The person who thought has gone, probably 4 generations have gone, and even today. And that is the level of leadership that
Right.
we need to lift ourselves to think.
Right.
And it's all starts with a thought, and thoughts guide our actions. And for creating any beautiful result, we need the right thought process.
Fantastic.
And that's how I would summarize leadership. Just as a last point also, you would ask me, why do I focus on leaders? I could have focused on, so this was a thought that came to me when I started my course. Why not teach the youngsters? Why not be part of their... Then I realized that the kind of impact a leader eventually can create through him to his team
Right.
is so much more larger.
Correct.
I may help one student, but if I help one leader, through that leader, that thousands of people who report to him will get
Correct.
benefited.
Absolutely.
And the message gets percolated, and the results are going to be so much more multifold.
True.
And
True.
that's the power of leadership. That is what, if I really wish people move out of titles to start seeing the power that leadership holds. And I urge every leader who has that position to understand their core values and create a legacy, and not just treat it as a job to be done.
Right. Fantastic, Radhika. On that note, thank you very much for your wonderful insights. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you.
That was Radhika Balakrishnan, founder and chief coach, CXO Incubator. Thank you for watching ET Edge Insight, where we bring experts, leaders who unravel opportunities, look into new ideas for the way forward.